We're back. So today we're going to be speaking on the pros and cons of renting a home versus buying a home. So the reason why I want to get into this video is because I ended up on a YouTube video, and there was a guy arguing his case why he would recommend people renting a home over buying a property. His reason was he doesn't want to be paying taxes when he's paid off his home. He also said about if he buys a house and puts down all this money, this big deposit, and then he comes into hardship in 10, 15 years time, then it was all a waste of time, him getting his property and it just getting taken. So I want to speak about the pros and cons of renting versus buying. But first off, I'm going to show you the video of where the guy was arguing his case about this.
You thought you're not going to pay them? Because you know what? If you don't, they come in to take all of that away. The stuff that you spent your whole life, right? Your whole life. All of your energy and time that you have. Time is precious. On accumulating this house here or this land, right? If you come into hard times and you can't pay that, they're taking it. Right? So why do all that when you could just, I'm gonna just rent this place, because you know what, if something happened, I could just go to another place or another place.
So let's get into a few pros of renting a house. So first off, we could say about the flexibility of if you needed to get up and leave after your 3 to 6 month contract, you've got no ties. If you wanted to, for example, go on holiday, going to work away, you might want to go to Dubai, you might want to go to Thailand to go work there for a year or two. You might even want to move to a different city. You will know that with you renting that property, you might have had a 3-month contract, 6-month contract, and after that's done, you could just get up and leave. I'd say that is a massive pro when it comes to renting a house. Let's talk about another one. I'll say less responsibility. So when we talk about less responsibility, a lot of the times we're talking about the maintenance within the household. So that comes down to a lot of the stuff like the boiler, the damp, the mold. When it's coming to the electrics breaking, water, the shower could have broken. These are the kind of things that's not going to be your responsibility to fix. If there does become a problem in the house, this is where it's going to be your landlord's problem to solve. So yes, I would say that's a massive pro when it comes to renting a house. Another thing is, I would say I give a pro is there's no lump sum that you need to put down, and there's no closing cost of when you want to leave this property. Okay, so what we're saying about lump sum, where when we get into a house, we're going to be talking about the deposit stuff. You don't need to be chucking down 10, 20 grand on a rental property. Also, when it comes to you leaving the house, you're not going to be having no closing costs. However, if you've put down a deposit on that house and it could come down to, I don't know, you made some damage in there, and it's gonna come up to the £600, £700 that you put in your deposit, that could get taken. That's the maximum that you could get taken when it comes down to it. So let's get into a few cons of renting a property. So first off is you're not going to be making any money off this property while you're in this house, because you're going to be paying off the rent every single month. End of the day, that's going to be going to your landlord, and then it's going to be paying off their mortgage. So all the money that you've paid every single month is just going to end up being dead money. Okay, let's get into the next one. Okay, the next con we're going to get into is high uncertainty of living in this house. Okay, so at any time, your landlord could decide, say for example, you've been settled in this house for 5-10 years. You really like this property. You're planning to stay there for life. Okay, it's near your children's school. It's near the shops. It's just nice and convenient for you to You know, just maneuver wherever you want to go to. Okay. But next minute, you get a letter through the post, and your landlord says, you know what? I'm decided to sell up. I'm decided to sell the property. And you don't have no say. You don't have no say. Like I say, unless the person who buys the house then is another landlord and they want to go about letting you stay in there. But if it's the person that buys the property and they want to live in there, that's you having to say goodbye. Okay, you're gonna have no say. So I'd say the uncertainty of that is massive. Another thing is, another con I'll say is you could be paying a lot more on your rent. So where we're talking, you might be paying your £500 every single month for a year. More times than not, the next month, the next year, the rent's probably got increased. So now you're paying £550. And as the years go on, whereas you're paying £500 at the start, it might be £700, £800, 3 to 5 years later. Who knows? It all depends on, like I say, interest rates, and it also depends on your landlord if they want to increase the rent. Okay, so I'll say there are 3 massive cons with renting a property. Anyway, let's get into the pros and cons of buying a house. And this is the one that I love. Okay, this is the one that I do recommend that you go about doing in the future as well. This is why. So now we're going to be getting into the cons and pros of buying a house. First off, I would say is the upfront costs of buying a house, especially like I said with what one of the guy said in the video that we listed, the upfront costs. So this is it is gonna be a lump sum deposit. So we're talking minimum 5%. So a lot of the times when stamp duty and you've got a lot of that involved, you're gonna end up paying 10% of the house. So for example, if you see a house 250 grand, just know you will be putting down on average around 25 grand. So I'd say that is one con for buying a house. I'd say another con is the maintenance. So when it comes down to maintenance, remember you've not got a landlord now. Okay, you're the owner of this property. So anything that goes wrong with this house, so now we're talking the boiler, now we're talking electrics, anything that goes wrong in the house at all that you want to list, all right? This is the stuff that you're going to be reliable for. You're going to have to sort this stuff out. So there is another con. I'd say another con is you could overpay. So not every house that you buy is a good investment. It's all about the price you pay for it. If you go see a house, right, that's 200 grand, and you go say, oh, I'm going to go pay 800 grand for this house. That's not a very good investment, is it? That's just means you've just overpaid 600 grand for that house. And believe it or not, a lot of people do overpay for houses. Okay, so this is why we put offers. This is why we put offers when we buy a house. Someone might put a house up for 250 grand, and people might be very eager to get that property. They might say, you know what, I'll give you 20. I'll give you 20,000 above asking price. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. You could overpay. There's another con. Now we're going to talk about the fluctuation with the interest rates. So where you get your mortgage, and for example, you might be paying £500 due to you having a fixed rate for 5 years at 1.9%. Now where we're talking about interest rates going up to 4.5% roughly right now, that then £500 could be going up to £1,100, between £900 and £1,100. Okay, that is another con when it comes to buying a property. Right, let's get into a few pros. Right, guys, we're going to be speaking about the pros of buying a house. This is right up my street. This is what I'm talking about right now. So, first one off, we're talking about building equity. So, when we buy a house, especially if the house is in, you see how I am now. I just love talking about building equity and just buying assets. I just feel good. But anyway, when we buy a house, if we're talking about buying it in a good location, so when I say good location, near good schools, near shops, we've got routes that are going into the town centre. They're going to here, they're going to there. Okay, in a nice area in general. So wherever you live, you will know the nice areas. The prices where a lot of the houses are a lot more money. Okay, so these places here, that's a very good place to buy property. All right, but let's get back to it. When we're talking about building equity, you might buy a house in that area for say 150 grand. And in 10, 15 years time, that house that you then bought for 150 grand is now worth 220, 230. That there, my friend, is what we talk about building equity in a house. So just there, you built what, 70 to 80 grand equity? So if you want to then sell up a house, you've just made that. That's just from you. That's just from you buying a property, it being in a nice area, and that house just going up in value. That there is what we call capital appreciation. So this is where I was talking about earlier, where the guy was speaking about if he comes into hardship and the money that he's just put down on his property, it's all going to be a waste because now someone can come and take it. No, my friend, not if you've bought a very nice house in a decent area. You've now got equity that you put onto that house. You can sell it and then you can move on to where else you need to go to. Okay, it's called capital appreciation. Another thing we're going to speak about, another pro, is stability. The stability of knowing that once you bought this house, as long as you keep maintaining these payments, this is your house for good. You ain't got nobody saying to you, you know what, mate, I'm gonna need you to sell up. I'm gonna need you to do this, gonna need you to do that. No, this is your property. You're the one in control of that. So stability being another one. Another one I would say is cheaper than renting property. So yes, we was talking about earlier on, we're talking about rents going up in price. On average, the landlord could be putting them up £50 every single year if they wanted to. They could put them up £100 every single year if they want to. As long as someone's willing to buy, they can do that. Whereas when you have a house, you have your fixed income for whether it's a 2-year fix, 3-year fix, 5-year fix, you'll be paying that every single month until it comes to when you remortgage. And then depending on the interest rates, that's going to depend on your payment every single month. Another one I'm going to speak about is the cash flow if it comes to you buying a house and renting it out. Because the thing is, what you can do is you can buy the property. And before I say that, when you say buy a property, if you buy a buy-to-let, it's going to be 25% that you need to put down on that house. But anyway, you can buy a property and then you can go about getting that cash flow every single month from that tenant. Okay? That is just the beautiful thing of what we're talking about, that generating income. Okay, that you could just get that money going into your bank every single month. And all you had to do is put that big lump sum down. And then assuming, because I know people want to argue the case and say, what about if your tenant does this? What about if your tenant does that? Assume you have a decent tenant, that's going to be very nice income that you're going to be getting every single month. Anyway, guys, like I say, I've not listed every single pro and con with renting and buying. We'll be here for days. But if you can list them in the comments, let us know. And we're going to be back soon with a level up. See you soon.